And now it's time for something completely It's a Mega Man ROM hack. Which not only makes this the first ROM hack that I've touched in years around these parts, but it also means I've fulfilled my annual Mega Man commitment, so after this we can move on to something else. Okay, so today we're looking at Polygirl's Adventure, a 2025 ROM hack of the very first Rockman game for the family computer, conceived by someone called U-Retro. It's a side-scrolling action platformer where you assume the role of Polygirl, a young girl gamer person thing who popped in a strange new game cartridge into her Polystation console. You know, those bootleg Famiclone things that look like PlayStation units. And this results in evil scientist Dr. Noak somehow stealing all of Polygirl's games, and now she has to get them back by entering the game world and stuff. So it's a Rockman clone whose plot is a derivative of Captain N the Game Master, which would be on brand of Polystation, which rips everything off. Could have been worse, it could have ripped off Captain S. Anyone remember Captain S? Of course you don't. That came out of nowhere, actually. That show's very old and very ancient and... Anyways, I digress. So you start the game and you have a stage select screen where you can pick one of 6 stages to tackle in any order you wish. You know, like that one game there. What am I talking about? This is that one game there. Only instead of killer robots as stage bosses, you have iconic video game heroes to contend with. And also the ninja from The Legend of Cage is here for some reason. And as such, each stage is modeled after that hero's world or game. So Donkey Kong's stage is a skyscraper setting, Pac-Man's stage takes place in an exaggerated version of a typical Pac-Man maze, that sort of thing. And it's worth noting that the graphical overhaul is pretty solid. While most of the graphical assets are naturally ripped from other games, they don't feel completely hacked together. There was a genuine effort in making these stages feel authentic, so the world of Super Mario Bros. Not only has the same graphics, but even the color palette comes close to approximating the colors of the original classic. And for games that don't normally adopt a side-scrolling platformer setup, your new settings are ideally suited to that character's world and then some. Although climbing empty space in Dig Dug stage is suspect, but climbing trees is fine. The new old bosses look fine as well, either slightly altered sprite rips or entirely new ones because the original versions were much smaller, and again don't fit the side-scrolling aesthetic. Another highlight worth mentioning is the sound output. Mostly the music because the sound effects are your stock Mega Man 1 sound effects and nothing has changed there. But again, there's a solid effort in putting some decent quality tunes befitting each character, and the tunes are pretty good. Not only that, but Polygirl's Adventure has more music than you would expect from a Mega Man 1 ROM hack. Not only does each Wily stage, Noak stage has its own unique theme, but each Hero Master has their own unique boss theme as well, which I didn't think you could do, but there you go. I do appreciate the Battle City jingles in this one. Not so sure about the Turtles in Time boss tune for the Noak stages, feels a bit out of place as does the Bridge Zone from 8-Bit Sonic, but other than that, not a bad selection of tunes and they're good quality tunes all things considered. But make no mistake, underneath the redesigned hood it's still Mega Man 1, so while it's visually and audibly different from the source material, it's still pretty much the same gameplay as before. Enemies behave the same as they usually do, boss encounters are the same, weapons operate pretty much the same fashion. The new stages share some bones with the old ones that they're replacing, meaning Donkey Kong has those platforms that will drop you if you're not careful. And also since Pac-Man is replacing Iceman, all the surfaces in that stage are covered in ice, so everything is slippery. What fun! The only thing that really changed gameplay-wise is the order in which to tackle the bosses, but really other than that, we're playing by the same rules as that base Mega Man 1 game. That unfortunately means classic Mega Man gameplay that lacks the polish and refinement brought about by later sequels. Control is responsive most of the time but tends to take a bit before movement begins, and sometimes there's a bit of an extra step that Polygirl takes after letting go of the D-pad, which makes precise platforming a bit of a struggle. If you pick up a power-up on screen, scroll away from where you picked it up for a bit and then scroll back, the power-up will come back, a rather useful trick for restocking on lives and energy. Long falls from high grounds mean fast drops, and oh gee, this bomb track doesn't seem so bad because there's no pits to fall into, but no, this is Mega Man 1. Spikes kill you whether you're flashing or not. You've got 10 new stages to play through, but some of them still bear the bones of the old levels that they were built upon. I mentioned the slippery Pac-Man mazes or the dropping platforms of Donkey Kong, but you could make out a couple other familiar hazards and familiar stages. The levels themselves aren't too bad, but some of the enemy placement tends to be a bit suspect. I mean... seriously? Also, I have to take issue with some of the jumps in this game, which tend to be somewhat maddening, which would have been bad enough had this been a hack of Mega Man 2 or 3 where control was a bit tighter and the jumping was a little more refined. But here, these often feel like leaps of faith in whether you'll actually leap off the platform at the last minute or you just walk off and die. Thankfully, you still have Magnet Beam, which circumvents any crappy platforming woes so long as you have energy left to spend, which should be too hard to come by if you know where to look and exploit. All in all, despite a couple quibbles here and there, I did find myself enjoying Polygirl's adventure. It's no reinvention of the wheel like some other Mega Man ROM hacks I've come across, but it's a pretty solid level pack with some superb graphical and musical reworking. If you could put up with some spotty jumping and enemy placement, Polygirl's adventure should satisfy that Rockman ROM hack itch for about half an hour before you move on to something else.